We've got a week of college football in the books. We have learned a lot. John, this might be the most important waiver wire of the season, right? Because we've got some actionable game content to build off of here. So we've got 9 waiver wire players you need to be prioritizing in your college fantasy football leagues. Let's start here with Beau Pribula out of Mizzou.
When we were recording our underdog drafts, I jokingly stated one time, Matt, that I'm not ready for the Beau Pribula experience. But you know what? I've changed my mind. He was so good last week. He's a dual threat quarterback. I did not expect that. Over 41 fantasy points. Obviously, scoring system matters, but we use 6-point touchdowns for the waiver wire here. 283 yards passing, 65 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. And Matt, Missouri Eli Dinkowitz has had success with quarterbacks. There's no reason to believe that a young man who's been in college for 3 years at Penn State can't succeed at Missouri. And the next 2 weeks, I like the matchups against Kansas and Louisiana.
Yeah, and Sam Horn, not a threat anymore. Even if he struggles a little bit, he'll have a leash. You mentioned the next 2 games. And then he's got South Carolina, but then UMass as well.
Yeah.
So three of the next 4 weeks are looking real juicy from a fantasy perspective. Next up here, sticking at the quarterback position to start, is A.J. Swann out of App State.
He might be one of the most impressive young quarterbacks that I saw this week. He was not on my radar, Matt. It was not like, certain players you look at, you're hoping that they pop. A.J. Swann was not on the radar, but when you throw for 368 yards, Matt, you rush for 25, and you have 3 total touchdowns, it opens my eyes. And I did a little research. App State ran like in the top 5 number of plays. This offense is going to play fast. And if I'm going to get a young man who was recruited to Vanderbilt, so you have an SEC talent, went to LSU, and now he's at App State, Matt, you got to think he can be successful here in an up-tempo offense. Plus, the next 2 weeks, Matt, these tasty matchups for Swann. Lindenwood, which I still should look up. I don't even know where Lindenwood is.
I think it's Virginia. I think it's in Virginia.
In Virginia. Okay. And then Southern Mississippi. I'm all in. I think this offense is going to be interesting. We got return to offensive production for the Mountaineers.
All right. Next up here is Gunnar Stockton. The Bulldogs played Marshall this past week. John, I have a feeling what you've identified is the sneaky rushing production that Stockton showed us this week.
Absolutely. Georgia quarterbacks are always on the fringe, right? If you start 2 players every week, they're bye-week starters, probably your 3rd or 4th quarterback. But Gunnar Stockton is different than Stetson Bennett, Carson Beck, and the quarterbacks we've had at Georgia. He does have the rushing upside that we love, Matt. 73 yards rushing. He had some key first downs. He had 190 yards passing. Now, obviously, in a blowout, maybe he gets to 225 to 250 on a regular basis. 4 total touchdowns. And Matt, we don't love the backs at Georgia. I like Nate Frazier, but it's not like they have a stud like DeAndre Swift or someone there, right? I have a feeling Stockton might be sneaky around the goal line all season. He had 4 total touchdowns last week, 2 rushing, 2 passing. And the next week he plays Austin Peay. Matt, that is a tasty matchup for Stockton. And then they play the Volunteers. Syracuse moved the ball. Tennessee won the game, but Syracuse had offensive production. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do like Gunnar Stockton right now.
Folks, we're going to be here with the waiver wire each and every week, so you're going to want to make sure you are subscribed. But if you want the CFF plays of the week, our picks, our plays, the advantages to give you, that's over on Patreon at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. The link is in the episode description. So you get 2 videos a week to help you win those CFF championships instead of 1. Moving on to the running back position here, it's Kewan Lacy out of Ole Miss. And John, I got to tell you, if I'm prioritizing where I'm putting my fab dollars this week, Lacy is definitely going to be at the top of that list.
Well, the good news is, Matt, I got him in the Kings Classic, so you don't have to waste your salary
Oh,
on that.
good.
I mean, hey, I had Jam Miller injuries, right? So I went to the waiver wire just before this season, and I think the Rebels announced Lacy as the starter, and we previewed him, everyone. He was on our start sleeper of the week show was Kewan Lacy. We also nailed Cam Edwards in that show and Taylon Green. Matt, I lost 2 games because our viewers started Taylon Green against me in our league. I'm so mad about that, but that's a different story for a different day. So Kewan Lacy, he's on about 38% of leagues right now. So hopefully he's available in your league, but you might have to put in some serious fab. He just came off a 28.8 performance, Matt. 108 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Matt, he transferred over from Missouri to Mississippi, which I can't really find out why, but you know what? I'm fine. He's in a Rebels uniform. That's all that matters. And we've had success with Lane Kiffin in the past. Remember Devin Singletary at Florida Atlantic when he had him. I believe Kiffin would prefer a stud running back than having like a rotation. Lacy looks like the guy. Now, the next 2 matchups are nice. Kentucky and Arkansas, not great. But Lacy should get the majority of touches. I love him. I'm prioritizing him in the leagues that he's available.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kentucky almost lost to Toledo, so I'm not super scared there. All right, John, on to another running back here. We're going to go Aidan Laughery, 12% ownership. Caden Fagan, we knew it'd be a little bit of a split backfield. Fagan got more of the carries, but I mean, much more efficient here with Laughery.
Yeah, and there's been rumors at Illinois that Laughery is going to be the majority of the carries. Now, it was a blowout, so it's really still difficult to decide. But we know the Illini are going to run the football, right, Matt? That's just absolutely clear. So you want some of these backs at 12% ownership. Matt, we can't be afraid of running back by committee. It's happening in the NFL. It's happening in some universities, right? They're doing it in their teams. This young man has Duke and Western Michigan in the next 2 weeks. He passed the century mark rushing. He had 2 touchdowns. I like the Illini offense. It's not as bad as people think. And man, I put a little over. I took the over for the Illini this year. I think it was 8.5, so I took the over on the 8.5. I think the Illini score a lot of points. I like Laughery.
All right, let's go on to Lincoln Pare here of Texas State. This is an interesting one, John, right? Because he's coming in with 34% ownership, but you might be able to get him under the radar because he's got 2 tough matchups the next 2 weeks. I think this is one I'm putting in a lower fab bid, trying to get him on my bench because after week 3, he's going to have some really juicy matchups, and he had some great week 1 production.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Matt. I don't love him against UTSA and Arizona State. Now, I would probably prefer him against UTSA if you ask me. I don't think I would play him. I have to think about the matchup down the road. But this is really about all season, Matt. 167 yards rushing and a touchdown last week against Eastern Michigan. And then you get into their schedule. After you got Arizona State, I think it's Nichols, Arkansas State, Troy, Marshall, Louisiana Lafayette. I mean, that schedule gets really tasty. And you know what? I think the Bobcats are going to have a good offense, Matt. So I'll take Lincoln Parr and just be willing to sit on him if I have to.
All right, on to the wide receiver position. We're going to go Jaden Bradley with our first pick out of UNLV. Bradley, John, clearly the top option in this UNLV offense. Over the first 2 games, they were a week 0 team. When you're the top option in Dan Mullen's offense, it's hard not to get excited about you.
Yeah, and UNLV, the Rebels have played really good football. I think they've scored 38 points in back-to-back games, right? Dan Mullen is a very good coach, people. He's at a G5 school now. He knows what he's doing. He's recruited and brought in the players that will succeed in his system. And look at this schedule. UCLA, then a bye week, and then Miami of Ohio. I mean, that's not bad in 2 of the next 3 weeks. And I have to look at targets, right, and production, Matt. 13 targets in 2 games, 12 receptions. That's really nice with 256 yards. You know what I like about Jaden Bradley? He's getting a high ADOT. They're throwing to him deep down the field, Matt, and he scored 43.6 fantasy points in 2 weeks. I'm all in. I'm putting some sneaky bids in for Jaden Bradley.
All right. Well, we're going to stick with the group of 5. Another guy that you might be able to get on the lower end of your budget, and that is Kenny Odom. He's got 42% ownership, but I think this is somebody, 9 receptions in this first week. Still not hearing a ton of hype for him.
No, Matt, not only 9 receptions, 16 targets. Okay,
Yeah,
we have to chase targets, right? When you look at the leaderboard and you're looking at 16, you're like, okay, I've got to pay attention to this young man. He has UT Martin next, Matt. That's a good matchup. Now, I'm not going to play him against Texas in 2 weeks, but that's fine. We're looking at the entire season. I actually wish I had more shares of Kenny Odom in my best ball. I think I only have him on 1 or 2 teams when I was looking at my rosters. Now, I want to say one other thing for our viewers. The waiver wire column on Fantrax has a lot more options at wide receiver, and it is very deep, Matt. This week, the wide receiver, I'm not sure if we have top end, but there is so much depth at the wide receiver. So go through and find some other options, everyone.
All right, last one here, John. We have for you number 9, Jayce Brown, the wide receiver here for Kansas State. Another guy, we have 2 weeks of proven production here. It's clear he's the top guy in the offense again this season. And John, it's also clear to me, Kansas State's going to be throwing the ball a ton. This defense is doing them no favors.
Matt, I couldn't agree more. This Kansas State defense looks really bad. And I have Avery Johnson, so I've been watching Kansas State. And Jayce Brown has been really impressive. Matt, he's the home run hitter. He's the deep shot. As long as Avery Johnson gets time, he can get the ball to him. I've been very impressed, right? He has 46% ownership. So you're going to, if you put in a waiver wire bid, if he's available. But he has scored 28.9 fantasy points. He has 16 receptions, but Matt, 24 targets. I mean, 12 targets a game. That is absolute fantasy gold. 187 yards. I like his home run hitting ability. I think this young man for Kansas State is a no-brainer this week. I just have a feeling their defense is going to give up almost 30 points a game, right, Matt? And that's going to force them to throw the football. And as long as Edwards, their running back, is out for a little while, I think it'll make Avery Johnson and Brown even more productive in this scheme.
All right, well, there you have it. Those are our waiver wire plays of the week. If you have questions about any of these players, other players, drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear it. Make sure you're subscribed here. And if you want double the college fantasy football advice, you can get our plays of the week by joining us over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. The link for that will be in the episode description. John, on to week 2 and on to some more college fantasy football victories.